Well, kia ora koutou and welcome everyone to the 2023 Potts Track and Field Classic here at Mitre 10 Sports Park in the sunny Hawke's Bay. And as you can see on screen, it's not entirely sunny, but conditions are still pretty good for athletics. Just a light southeaster blowing across the track at the moment as the cameras pan back from the hills here behind Hastings. This wonderful setting for athletics as we kick into another year of the Potts Classic. My name is Hayden Sherman. I'm joined by Tony Rogers in the commentary booth here, and we've got an exciting lineup of athletics ahead of us, Tony.
Welcome, Hayden and listeners. It's good to be back here at the Mitre 10 Sports Park, and it doesn't seem that long ago since we're sitting in the chair side by side there pre-Christmas, and a little bit of a wet Inglewood, wasn't it, at the New Zealand schools? But yeah, we've got a big, exciting program, and I call this the start of the high season as we start with the Potts Classic here in mid-January.
Yeah, and look, the talk amongst the athletes was a sense of excitement as they look to really get their seasons underway. A lot of the throwers in particular have been here all week long for a throwers camp, and so yeah, really, really cool to see that anticipation for this. As I think there was Iorana Tafili from Lower Hutt Amateur Athletics getting her afternoon underway as the measurers get out their equipment and get ready to roll. So first up in the field, we've got sort of we're calling it the pre-meet with the women's hammer, men's hammer, and then we've also got the men's pole vault going on. Now in the women's hammer, that name Lauren Bruce is the New Zealand record holder. Has she broken the record at least once here before? It's certainly been broken by either Lauren or Julia here multiple times, but the throwers tend to love it here in the Hawke's Bay. So Lauren Bruce, our furthest in terms of distance hammer thrower in history, the New Zealand record holder, she will be lining up shortly. So the lineup for this hammer throw competition: Iorana Tafili, who we saw on screen. Now we've got Nora Quigley from Christchurch, the 18-year-old. After her will be Nadia Kumrich. Then we've got Lauren Bruce. Then we've got Lexi Maples, who picked up the bronze medal in the hammer at the National Champs here back in March. Elizabeth Hewitt and Michaela Sola. So that is the field in the women's hammer. Over in the men, we've got Heath Abbott, Caleb Sola, Levi Papuali'i, and Anthony Nobilo. And Anthony Nobilo, he's been on a tear, just dropping PBs almost every time he comes out in the circle for the last probably 18 months or so. So keep an eye out for Anthony to continue. We'll see if he can continue that PB form as we see Nadia Kumrich getting her first mark of the day.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Hayden, the throwers had their throws camp during the week, and obviously the highlight of that was a discus throw, national record by Connor Bell. But there's some good PBs for some of these young hammer throwers, and one in particular coming out of Wellington was Elizabeth Hewitt. She threw a personal best, so we're looking forward to see how she's going today.
So there's the field for the men's pole vault. We've got Cole Gibbons, James Stain, Ethan Phillips, Nick Southgate, Charlie Cameron, Etienne Dupria, Josh Woodhead and Ruben Vogel. So sort of the two established names with Nick Southgate and James Stain. Great to see them back competing against each other. Long-time rivals. And here she is, Lauren Bruce, after the announcement from Julia Ratcliffe that she's hanging up the hammer. It really leaves the way for Lauren Bruce to lead the charge with the Kiwi Wahine in the hammer throw. So here she is. This will be her first throw in 2023 on home ground. I'm assuming that she didn't throw earlier in the week.
I didn't spot it in the results, no. So she'll be wanting to put...
Almost put myself wrong.
Put 2022 behind, where she had a mixed fortune on the international stage, didn't she? So close at World Champs and so far at Commonwealth Games.
Here she is, Lauren Bruce, with her first throw of the day, heaving that hammer straight down the sector. There was a beautiful way to open up her campaign today. Now I'm looking at the markers. We've got a little black flag there that says New Zealand record. Someone has kindly placed a New Zealand record marker just at the bottom of the screen there. You can see a tiny little triangle black flag just beyond that 70-metre mark. That's her own New Zealand record. which is 74.61. So that initial throw looking like it might be out towards the 70-metre mark early on. And I can tell you that Nadia Kumaric currently has the lead as we wait for the mark to come through, which is a 65.92 for Lauren. So that will overtake Nadia's 43.19. Here we see that wonderful technique, great poise, great balance. Stays inside the circle and gets an early mark on the board. And I guess, Tony, for Lauren, there's a bit of frustration last year. She started the year with her first New Zealand title and still hit some pretty big throws with a 73.34 in 2022. So that's only a metre off her best. But like you say, she was probably hoping for big things at Com Games. And Hammer just seems to be one of those events where there's quite a few variables that can go wrong. And it wasn't the Com Games that she would have been hoping for, but that international experience, I'm sure, I'm sure will pay off, and I'm sure she'll be coming into 2023 armed with a lot more experience, a lot more tools in her tool bag to carry on that international stage. And we just had Lexi Maples in the circle, and now we jump over to the men's pole vault, which is underway. So I mentioned we've got Nick Southgate and James Stain. They're number 2 and number 3 in New Zealand history. And we've got some youngsters who'll be looking to stay on their heels and try to sort of edge up into the threes and the high 3s and 4 metre zone. And it really is, we're sort of waiting for that third athlete to arrive on that 5 metre stage. So
yeah, well, we had James Stain kick off his 2023 year with a 5.01 during the week at that midweek competition that was held here. So he'll be looking to go better than that, I'm sure. And obviously he's got his arch rival Nick Southgate in the men's pole and there was a good performance by young Charlie Cameron. So he went jumping 4.61. So that would be a really good to see if he improves even from his Wednesday result.
So that was Elizabeth Hewitt with her first throw, who, as Tony mentioned, dropped a PB earlier in the week here. So I arrived on Friday night, and the throwers were having a great old time. I arrived in the midst of a sort of end of the camp dinner, and we've got 2 discus throwers from overseas, and they were saying to me this morning how they just absolutely loved arriving amongst that atmosphere with all the throwers, and they got a great welcome. And yeah, we've got a wonderful throws community here. It's one of the real treasures in New Zealand athletic circles.
Absolutely, and you'll note on your screen there that we've had a young athlete there in a New Zealand schools singlet, or New Zealand singlet, which is representing the New Zealand secondary school. So after our championship in Inglewood, we selected a New Zealand team to compete across the classics. So they had the opportunity, which they haven't had much in the last few years or last few summers, to represent New Zealand in the New Zealand school singlet at these classics tours, classic meets over a short tour.
So that was Cole Gibbons, just 18 years of age. And did he take out that title? I'm going back to the results, trying to see. No, it was Ruben Vogel who took it out. But
he was placed in Inglewood in the vault.
What confused me, he actually won the 110 hurdles that weekends at the National Secondary Schools Champs. So multidisciplined athlete. And Cole Gibbons, I believe he's the son of Paul Gibbons, who's the New Zealand record holder in the pole vault. So good to see pole vault staying strong.
Staying in the family. Yep.
Yeah.
And obviously Mum Megan will be very happy with that progress as well. So they've got a daughter here running as well, Georgia, I believe. So some good athletes coming out of the Gibbons combination.
Yeah. It's always good to see when that second generation comes through. You know, there can be a bit of pressure on both parents and kids as to see if they follow in their parents' footsteps. Sometimes they channel that into other sports, which is totally fine, but it's always great when you get these sort of multi-generational athletics families. So Heath Abbott there, 15-year-old out of Karori Athletics. So we've got 4 men in this men's hammer throw with Heath Abbott, Caleb Sola, Levi Pupali'i and Anthony Nobilo. And yes, over this time, nice and clean. There it is. So Cole Gibbons over at 4:22. So we can imagine that the boys will be looking to, in terms of James Stain and Nick Southgate, looking to open up when it gets up towards that 5 metre mark. James Stain cleared 5:01 on Wednesday night, which I think was his first height. And just pulling out of that one. All right, back to the hammer throw. The boys in the hammer, we've got Caleb Sola. So Heath Abbott's distance came through at 42.26. He was the first to throw. And that was Caleb Sola getting his first throw on the circle. And over this time, little shake of the head. He's not happy, but it's always good when that bar stays on. At the second attempt for Charlie Cameron, it stays on at 4:22. So he's got a mark on the board now. So Cole Gibbons has passed on 3:82. He went clear first time at 4:02 and 4:22. So he's got a nice clean sheet. Ruben Vogel over there with his first attempt at 4:22. He passed at the 2 previous heights. And then Charlie Cameron has 1 miss at 4:22. And it's just coming through that Etienne Dupria will open up at 4:67. Nick Southgate and James Stain will both open up at 5:02. And there we go. Anthony heaving it out. Anthony Nobilo, he has been dominating the hammer throw here in New Zealand. And yes, this time, the relief. The double claim. Says to everyone, don't panic, don't panic. I've got it. So Charlie Cameron goes clear. It's good field with this men's pole vault. Obviously with Nick and James, they're out clear, but it really is these younger athletes trying to chase them down. And then Etienne Dupria, the 32-year-old out of Auckland, he's been improving year by year. So that's 65.49. Huge from Anthony Nobilo to open up his campaign. So Anthony's best, which he set on the 29th of December, so just a couple of weeks ago, was 68.25. So he's right within cooey of that with his first throw, throwing into what do we call it, a mild headwind, mild to moderate?
Yeah, it's picking up a little bit since we've arrived, I think, Hayden. And yeah, going back to Anthony, he's been ultra consistent, as you said, over the last 18 months and just notching out his PB further and further, metre by metre. And it's really good. He's nearing that 70-metre mark, and I'm sure that's his big target with his current in the 68 range. So it'll be great for him to come here and see if he can put one right out there.
All right, Levi Pupali'i, who took out the New Zealand Secondary Schools crown in just atrocious conditions. So he'll be thinking that this is positively balmy out here. The fact that there's not torrential rain. And good first up throw, gets the white flag, just stays inside the right-hand portion of the sector. And as you can see there, out towards that 60-metre mark. So results so far in the men's hammer. Anthony Nobilo has that 65.49. Caleb Sola at 43.19. Heath Abbott 42.26. And Levi Pupuale'i, that's come through as a 56.18. So I imagine that Levi is throwing with the junior implement still.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking that when I saw Heath Abbott throw, who's still an under 18 athlete, so which means he could be throwing with probably the 5 kg, but I'm not sure how they're running the meet, so it might be quite good for us to get some clarity on that if we can, so people know the results of what the distance these young athletes are doing.
All right, Ioranata Philly from Lower Hutt just overstepping that one. Yeah, so it looks like at the pre-Potts Classic, he was throwing a 6 kg, so it looks like he stepped up from that 5 kg to the under 20s implement of the 6 kg.
From Levi Pupuale'i and Caleb Sola, Anthony's throwing 65.49. And over at the pole vault, the bar is at 40.37. A few athletes attempting it, and
so Ruben Vogel in the pole vault. Height at the pole vault currently is sitting at 4.37. So now we've gone from going up in 20 centimetre increments to now going up in 15 centimetre increments. And we're back to this hammer throw. So we've got men's and women's all combined, which lengthens out the competition, but means we get a chance to have a look at both sides of the field every round. All right, Cole Gibbons, he's got one miss at 4.37, so that's tarnished his perfect record up to this point with a clearance at 4.02 and a clearance at 4.22. Here he goes, second attempt at 4.37, just takes it down with his foot. Have one more attempt at this height.
So he'll be very happy if he can get over here. Hayden, I think 4.21 is his current best, so if he's obviously attempting quite a mark on above that, which he set earlier in the week by the looks of things.
So the pole vault is there. You can see that windsock's just fluttering a little bit in the breeze. So they've got that light tailwind. I imagine at that side of the field it's reasonably sheltered with the embankment and then the hedge behind them. So it shouldn't be too much of a factor for these vaulters.
Yeah, no, they'll be happy with that, just having a little bit of a tail behind them. If it gets to gust too much, of course, that can cause them a bit of a problem with their run-up, getting in too close. But while it's reasonably stable, you can see the flags out here in front of us are just in a nice stable position, not moving around too much, so it's probably a good stable wind across the far side. And the sun's come out a bit brighter too now. Temperature's good though, about 22 degrees when I pulled up here this afternoon, so the athletes will be really happy with that.
Right, Charlie Cameron, his second attempt at 4.37, I'm sorry. And just taking that one down with his feet, almost a carbon copy replay from the jump before. So both Cole Gibbons and Charlie Cameron with two misses now at 4.37.
Yes, as I said, Charlie set a PB in the midweek meet at 4.61. Charlie's out of Canterbury, so be interesting to see if he can match that today.
So it must have been a 1 centimetre PB. Always great with the vaulters that they can just pop the bar up 1 centimetre and improve their best. Always good to see. go back to the hammer throw circle. That's Nadia Kumaric, who is often see her across the various throws. And I'll bring you up to date with the standings in the women's hammer throw now that we're into round number 2. So Lauren Bruce opened up that big 65.92. As we jump back to the pole vault, here goes Charlie. Is he over? No, so that won't be a new PB for him today. Sorry, that was Cole Gibbons. That won't be a new PB for him today, but solid effort. He will finish up with that 4:22. Now it's down to Charlie Cameron whether he can overtake Cole Gibbons in the standings. I believe we're going to see Cole Gibbons later in the day in the hurdles as well, so his day won't be quite finished yet. So here's Charlie getting himself in the zone. And here we go, Lauren Bruce, the New Zealand record holder in that women's hammer throw, looking to get her 2023 started the right way. The left-handed rotational thrower, out it goes, straight down the sector, once again out towards that 70-metre zone. Her first throw was 65.92. And I'm sure for Lauren, if she can be outposting something beyond 70 metres this early in the season, she'll be pretty happy. So, yeah, standings at the moment in this hammer throw competition. Lauren's got that lead with a 65.92. Scores still to come, obviously. Lexi Maples sitting in second. She's the bronze medalist from March this year with a 54.62. And then Nadia Kumaric is sitting in third place with a 44.39. I believe Nadia will be throwing the junior implement.
She could well be throwing the 4 kg level today, but yeah, the good thing that watching the women's hammer from Lauren's perspective, I guess, Hayden, is that she's probably wanting to be really consistent and get that hammer right in the middle, and because that's what gave us some issues overseas this year, is getting the throw in the sector and having no throws. So to see it coming straight out the middle, that's probably what's been a big work on for her, I'm sure. So with her coach Dale Stevenson.
So Lexi Maples there will get another mark on the board. That went down the left-hand side of the sector, just behind the net. There you can see the measuring board. And here we are back at the pole vault. Can he do it? One last attempt. Well, I can tell you that was actually the first attempt at 4:52. So Charlie Cameron did clear at 4:37. So that was while we're watching Lauren's second throw. So that was his first attempt at 4:52. So good to see Charlie moving up. First miss at 4:52, but he's still in the game. And in the women's hammer, we're still waiting for that mark to come through from Lauren, so we'll keep you posted. That's 57.12. And I believe that was a new PB from Lexi, so that adds another half metre to her personal best, which was 56.67. So great to see these girls just improving as they go. And Lexi Maples really defining herself now as one of the up-and-comer throwers. She sort of dabbled across the multi-events for a few years and now decided she's going to specialise.
Yeah, so Lexi's formerly out of Wanganui Collegiate, and now she's been training with the throwers in Christchurch, and she was training, I think, with the likes of Dale and Lauren until they went back to, Dale went back to Australia, his homeland, as one of our key coaches we've had for a number of years. It's good to see. She's probably had a lift by being in the throws camp during the week here in Hastings, and that's what gives all these young throwers the big benefits, isn't it? Being around each other and training together for a good few days. So yeah, it's a good reward for her getting PBs, as it was some of the others during the week.
All right, Ruben Vogel in the men's pole vault. The height is 452, and look at that, first attempt, over he goes.
So he cleared 450 when he won the New Zealand Schools title, so he'll be happy with that. So keep progressing. He hasn't missed on all 3 attempts so far, so
yeah, pretty impressive. Love it when you get that nice clean scoreboard as a jumper. So confirmation, Cole Gibbons has missed 3 times at 437, so he's out of the competition with a 422 best. Charlie Cameron has had multiple misses, but he's still in the competition with a 437 best and then 1 miss at 452. Here he is getting himself psyched and in the zone. And yeah, lots of early misses in the early attempts for Charlie, but he's still in the game, still in the hunt. Here he goes, Charlie Cameron. He's got a best of 460.
Ooh, he's had a red flag there. He's just broken the line of the bar, so it's a shame for him.
That is a shame. So that's his second miss. But this is what he did at the previous height, so I'm not counting it out that he's going to come back and take it. So you were saying his personal best was 461 from the other day?
Yep. So he set a personal best midweek to Charlie, and looking up Ruben Vogel, he won the New Zealand Schools title, as I said, with a 450. But we know what the weather was like there, and he's got a PB of 462, I think it was. So he'll be looking at chasing a PB with his next attempt, I'm sure. As you said, Hayden, the jumpers, the vertical jumpers, they have this benefit of being able to talk amongst themselves with the coaches and the technical delegate to set the progressions and make sure they hit new PBs or new marks or qualifying marks with the bar that's agreed to what the height will be raised before the meet, but they sit with the coaches and the technical delegate and usually work out what's the best increases to have and what's the starting height, so that some of these young athletes can get their PBs on the way. Caleb
Sola in the hammer throw. He had a best of 43.19 from round 1. And
Caleb's better known as a javelin thrower. He's stepping up to the senior ranks this year. This is and I know he's thrown quite well during the week as well. So he'll be looking to have a few strong javelin competitions. So you've got a PB with the senior men's javelin during the week of 52.24, so that's a specialty event. So yeah, good to see him throwing the hammer too.
He'll be throwing the senior implement today.
Yep.
Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've just joined us, welcome to the 2023 Potts Classic here at Mitre 10 Sports Park in Hastings. We've got pretty good conditions here for athletics as the men's pole vault kicks things off, and yes, this time beautiful. Charlie Cameron stays in the fight. He has had a whirlwind of an afternoon so far with multiple misses. He's got 5 misses to his name, and this for the second time at 452. Over he goes.
Yeah, he's doing well, and that means he's an athlete and is learning his trade probably, that he's adjusting well after those early attempts and managed to get that clearance. So,
that was a big heave from Anthony Nobilo right down the middle of the sector. Boy, oh boy, he's looking strong and he's looking hungry too. You can see that 65.49 there. His best is 68.25, so we want to see him getting up towards that 70 metre mark, quite similar to what Lauren Bruce is doing.
Yeah, so during the week he did set a new PB of 68.95, so he's only just a metre away from that 70 metre mark. So Anthony will be hoping to go out there a bit better today. I'm sure he would love to get 70 metres.
And incidentally, if you're wondering where the New Zealand record is, from back in 1994, Angus Cooper threw the hammer out to 73 metres 10. So that's one of the little carrots that's dangling a few metres out beyond him. And look at that, 67.17, another improvement. It's not quite a PB, but only a metre off it. So Anthony Nobilo is dropping bombs in the early stages of this competition. And we're back to Charlie Cameron, knocking it off with his foot. But as he's been doing all day so far, just take a couple of misses at each height and then just make sure you get the third one. Not sure if it's the strategy that you teach to all of your athletes if you're coaching.
Well, it's not the strategy, but it's a good learning exercise for young athletes, because obviously the more vaults they have, the tighter they get. So it's he's had what I think we'll have come up 9 vaults now, isn't it? I think so. Once they get around about 8 vaults or jumps in any of the vertical jumps, that's when they like to make sure they're hopefully hitting their straps for their best marks.
Yeah. And I was having a chat to some of the vaulters last night, saying, what sort of percentage of top speed do you get up to on the runway? Keeping in mind that they've got this big long pole they're having to carry with them and make sure it's in the right spot. And they were sort of saying you're getting up around 90-95% of max speed. So you think about doing 8 30 metre, 20 metre max speed runs as Etienne Dupree gets his afternoon started, but not in the way that he would have hoped.
No, he'd definitely be looking for something a little bit more promising than that, but...
and you can probably hear that in the mics, just the wind picking up a little, so whether that was an element there. You can see the windsock just fluttering a bit more than it was earlier, so that may have been just a last-minute tweak of... his run-up just set him astray as Iorana Tafili just holds on. She's have to pull out of that one, so unfortunately that'll be a foul for her second throw. I think we're on to the... still on the second throws. Oh, sorry, that was the third throw. So she's got a 32.96, but 2 fouls so far. So standings in this women's hammer, Lauren Bruce is out the front, as you'd expect, with a 65.92, but not too far behind. Lexi Maples with a 57.18, and Elizabeth Hewitt has a 47.34.
So Liz will be looking to get back over that 50-metre mark. She had a good 50-metre plus throw during the week, so it was a personal best, so we'll see how she progresses.
And as far as what's coming up this afternoon, we will take a break once these competitions conclude, and then we'll be back around 4:30 with the main part of the Potts Classic. And man, looking through the heats, I'm all for these events coming tonight. I'm almost thinking this could be a final at any national champs when you're looking at the 800-metre fields, the 400-metre fields, the long jump, just the shot put, the quality of fields that are lining up at this Potts Classic is just incredible. So it's going to be a lightning hot evening of action, and the Potts Classic has got a habit of throwing out national records, at least one each time these athletes come out here to Hastings. So be sure to tune in, be sure to hit that share button and share the link around to your friends and whānau and club mates, and make sure we've got eyeballs on screen for the action that's happening.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be hoping that maybe the wind will just drift around and come from the other direction before we get to the real action, which is all those 100-metre heats and then the finals later on in the program. So, yeah.
Oh, yes, and we have success. No, red flag. So I must have just dipped under. Now here she is, Lauren Bruce. She's been out in the mid-60s today, as you can see on screen there. There's the standings. 65.92 is her best. Remember, her national record is that 74.61, which she set in the States back in 2021. And here is Etienne Zapria. And Etienne's one of those jumpers who he'll be hungry to get up into that 5 metre club. He's been sort of there or thereabouts as he goes up this time. Yes, beautiful body awareness there. As you can see, he knew he was close to that bar, but he managed to be very aware of where he was in space. And there's Lauren just clipping the net on the way through. And she would have stepped that one out and take the foul. Yeah, it'll be interesting how Lauren's getting on over in Aussie now, based in Melbourne with her coach, Dale Stevenson. And be interesting to see what her off-season block of training has been like in preparing her for this competition. As we skip back to the men's pole vault. And of course we've got the women's pole vault coming up later today. And finally, looks like we're going to have Eliza McCartney competing. So that is going to be very exciting to watch. The bronze medalist from way back at the Rio Olympics will finally be competing on domestic soil, we believe.
Well, she was another that competed in the vault during the week, and it was good to see she cleared 4:21, which will be pleasing for her first up. Hayden, we know everyone's been waiting for her to come back and compete and get over the niggling injuries and things that she's had for the last few seasons. But yeah, fantastic to see Liza competed, and that was taken out midweek by Olivia McTaggart with a 4:51, just outside her best. And we've got Imogen Iris, of course, the bronze medalist at the Commonwealth Games, who beat Olivia by the count back. We're coming third and fourth, our two vaulters at Birmingham. So looking forward definitely to the women's vault this afternoon. We could see all three of them make some impressive marks, I'm sure.
So all smiles for Lexi Maples. She's having a good day in the shot put circle. Already throwing PBs. 57.18, inching her way up to the 60 metre mark. Remember, we've got 3 current women who are in the 70 metre club, and see some of their coaching team just having a little rest on the bar there. And here he is. He's given us plenty of drama today. Here's Charlie Cameron. And with the bar set at 467, this is his final attempt. He's been clearing a lot of final attempts, and he does this one.
That's fantastic. So that's a 6 centimetre PB on what he did midweek. So Charlie will be really, very impressed with that. So well done to our New Zealand schools rep in this competition, Charlie Cameron out of Christchurch.
What a sequence of events. So Charlie, up he goes. Look at this. It's a great vault, actually. He had a good 10, 15 centimetres under him there to spare, and boy oh boy the relief, because he has cleared 4 heights, but in that the process he's had a total of 7 misses. So 4 heights with 7 misses, so he's had 11 attempts.
So he's doing well to be doing personal best, so that's fantastic for him. And it'll be put a little bit of pressure, I'd say, on his Canterbury teammate Young Vogel, so it'll be good to see how it's not Ruben Vogel's from Auckland, I should say. So it'll be good to see what develops with these 2 young vaulters.
Yeah, Ruben has a best of 462, and here he is at the bar at 467. Can he hit the personal best? No, looked like almost he is struggling for speed, just struggling with that run up, but he pulls out, so he will finish the competition with 3 first-time clearances at 422, 437, 452, and that 452 will be his best with 3 misses at 467. Now, back at the women's hammer throw, we are now into round 3, quite deep into round 3. This is Michaela Sola. Winding up, releasing, and that one will go very close to the outside of the sector. Will we get a mark? She's got a best today of 40.64.
So So Michaela, she took out the New Zealand Schools title in the very wet evening at Inglewood, if you recall, Hayden. So it's good to see that she's back here competing against New Zealand's best and Lauren Bruce today. And no doubt she's had some great learnings during the week in the throws camp.
Yeah, how cool is it for these athletes to mingle with, 3 athletes who have been to 3 hammer throwers who've been to world champs and Com Games. And just wonderful to see. So here we go. We've raised the height for Charlie Cameron. It's gone up another notch, and the height is, just letting it load, we are at 482 now. So Etienne du Preez and Charlie Cameron are both still in it at 482. Yet to open up is Nick Southgate and James Stain. And we had Heath Abbott on screen, the 15-year-old, who I'm guessing is related to Max Abbott. Would I be right in assuming that?
It's the younger brother, yep. So they're out of the Karori Club in Wellington, and although Max is down at University in Christchurch at the moment, so yeah.
And Max has taken out various medals across the throws, but probably more known for his discus throwing. Would that be fair to say?
This is number one event, I think you would say.
Oh, it hung on there for a while.
It was very close, wasn't it?
It was bouncing up there and just came off. Maybe it was just that southeast breeze just getting under that pole and knocking it off, as we see Etienne first attempt there at the new height, which is 482. So that's a miss each for Etienne du Preez and Charlie Cameron. Caleb Sola. So Caleb currently sitting in third place with a 43.19. Here he is, Anthony Nobilo. I've just brought up the all-time list of New Zealand hammer throwers in the men, and we've got the 2 Anthonys who are leading the charge at the moment. So Anthony Nobilo, he's got a 68.95. He's sitting in 4th place all-time in New Zealand history. And then Anthony Barnes is not too far behind him with a 67.09, who was improving all of last year. And here is Anthony Nobilo. You can see that great speed he gets. And this one has gone a good distance again, getting out beyond that 60-metre mark. That's the marker on the left. The marker on your right is obviously the 70-metre mark. And he's having a good, strong day at the office. Here goes Etienne du Preez. Over he goes. Success in round 2. So he's had 2 misses first up.
4 meters 82 at each pole.
And so 2 misses on the first attempt at each of his heights, and then 2 successes. So 482, over he goes. This is solid jumping from Etienne.
Yes, so he'll be looking to go over the 5-metre mark, as you said. His PB is 502, and as can be the case with vaulting, sometimes if they're going to use their pole, which is probably going to give them their maximum height, they've got to do some adjustments on those lower heights, try and clear them, but knowing that the poles that they're using or can swap to is set for when they're hopefully going to get some PBs or the heights that really count. So that's another little variable that the pole vaulters have to think about. And that may be why we saw some of the issues that young Charlie Cameron's had at the lower heights, and yet suddenly he's improved to be successful at the height he has now.
And you can see there our official doing a great job of staying aware. And this is, I went to a officials training day a few months ago. And one of the key things when you're officiating throws is safety, because there is a throwing sector and there's no guarantee that the implement will stay inside that throwing sector. So good to see that awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And hammer's one of those ones that you don't want to get have a collision with, I'm sure.
Yeah, when you've got 4 kg flying through space. And there is Charlie Cameron. That's his third miss, unfortunately, at 4.82. So he'll finish the competition. He'll finish with a personal best. And after a lot of entertainment for us here, because he's cleared 4 heights, but he's had a day that has included a total of 10 misses. So that's a busy old day for any pole vaulter. But he'll be pleased to head home with that personal best. And here is Etienne. He's got that 4.82 in the bag. Now moving up to 4.92. So now we're going up in 10 centimetre increments. We've still got Nick Southgate, James Stain. They're going to open up at 5.02. But can Etienne stay in the game to meet them?
So James Stain and Nick Southgate have been sort of training partners but rivals for some time now, and there's not much difference between their PBs. 3 centimetres is all it is. One, James is at 5.50 and Nick at 5.47, and they've been training up there on the North Shore for a good number of years together now. But and it's good. James, I know in particular, has really been working well with some of the younger pole vaulters. And,
yeah, he was saying he's got 18 athletes that he's coaching at the moment, so he's staying busy.
He's busy. And he's good personality for it. Known James since my days at director of sport at Rangitoto College, and he came through at that time.
Cool.
And always really empathetic to helping young ones and easy to get along with. So it's good to see him stepping into that coaching role. So growing as a young athlete, but also as a young coach.
So Irana Tafili just trying to find her balance, find her poise here in round 4. So she's got that 32.96. Can she hold on to this one, send it out? No, that'll crash into the net on that occasion. So we're into round 4 here. So we've rearranged the order for the 7 athletes. So Lauren Bruce continues to hold the lead in the women's competition with that 65.92 that she opened with. There's the standings on the left-hand side. Lexi Maples with that 57.18, and then Elizabeth Hewitt with the 47.42. So Nora Quigley from Christchurch Old Boys. Rotating across the circle. Is that going to stay in? It does. So she's got a best of 33.33. So looking ahead at what's to come tonight, we've got the 2 3,000 metre under 20 national championships. So that'll be some of the first national titles we'll hand out for the year, won't it?
That will be, yeah. So we've got the Junior 3000s here today at the Potts Classic. And then during next Saturday, there'll be the championship for New Zealand for the mile for women and men, and the men under 20s and women under 20s. And then the following week down at the Capital Classic, we have the Senior 3000. So over the space of the 2 weeks, we've got a number of New Zealand championship titles being decided.
Oh, Etienne, another miss at 492, sorry. So that's the second miss. And another one finds its way into the net. And Etienne just poising himself, working out what's going on. And that wind, which will be a tailwind on the runway, which should be helpful most of the time, but when it's variable, that really upsets the runway, and potentially if it's a slight crosswind, that can play a bit of a havoc with the pole.
So you can see the corner when they're showing the height marker, the little flag fluttering there, the distance flag, or it was blowing a bit and then it sort of dropped down, so that shows you the fluctuation. But there we go. There's the hammer we've got.
Yeah, Nadia Kumaric.
Nadia Kumaric, yeah. So
currently sitting in 4th place. Best today of 46.09. I assume she's throwing a junior implement. There you can see the camaraderie between all these athletes. It really is cool to see everyone cheering each other along, and most of them have spent a great week together and just building those lifelong friendships and learning off each other. And here we go, Etienne just composing himself. Can he improve up to 492? Last year his best was 480, so he's already bet that. So 2023 is already better than 2022, but as Tony mentioned, Etienne has been up to 502 way back in 2020. And Lexi Maples getting it straight down the sector. Sorry, was that Elizabeth Hewitt, sorry. So Elizabeth Hewitt's currently sitting in 3rd, and here is Etienne. Yes! No! So close. You can see there a bit of frustration. You can see he had that height, but just his chest knocking off the bar. So he's over at this stage, and then I think it was his hand. His hand just pushed it into his chest. So that might have been that frustration, just knowing, I was one flick of the wrist away from getting over that. As we go back to the women's hammer, where we've got Lexi Maples sitting in 2nd place. Incidentally, Elizabeth Hewitt added another metre and a bit to her best today, getting out to 48.85. Cool, and confirmation as well. Tony's just confirmed that Elizabeth and Nadia will be throwing the 4 kg.
Yes, they'll be in under 20 grade this year. They'll both be 18, so can need to throw the 4 kg. So the under 20 woman and the senior woman both throw 4 kgs.
Cool. So Lexi Maples, she's been nice and consistent, mid-50s, and she threw a PB, didn't she, in round 2 with that 57.18. So she's sitting in 2nd place. And we'll have a mark coming through for this one. Here we go. Here's James Stain. The big boys are out now in the pole vault. Height's up at 502, but James just ducking under that one. So James Stain versus Nick Southgate. This is one of the great battles that we've had over the years, and they're both kind of clocking up senior titles and making a bit of a battle for it.
And I always find this is the intrigue of an event like this pole vault. These two guys, so obviously James did 5:01, not sure how much he extended himself during the week, but here he is coming in for his first height at 5:02, and of course that's the intrigue of pole vault, is if you leave it a bit too late to come in and you know height, well then you're out of the comp. So a little bit of pressure goes straight on to James and a little bit less on Nick right now.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting comp, and here we go.
Here's Nick over, but down it comes. Yeah. So he had the height, didn't quite navigate his way over the bar appropriately, but he will get a good look at it. Good speed on the runway. And then up he goes, had that height, and then just the knee coming down on the bar. So it looks like he's pretty focused. He'll know what he needs to tweak. He's 7 times New Zealand senior champ, which is, he's still a young man. That's pretty impressive to clock up 7, which in that time, James Steyn has won 2 of them.
That's right. So just reminding our viewers that currently leading the competition is Etienne Dupree with 482. And then in second place currently, of course, is young Charlie Cameron, who set that personal best of 467, and lying third at the moment would be Ruben Vogel. So, the pressure's on these 2 leading vaulters now to get on the podium if they've started off their first vaults with no height.
Heath Abbott from Karori. Can he stay in? It was a reasonable throw, but I think
could have been outside the sector on that far side. What's the flag doing there? It looks like they are measuring it. It's inside the sector, so yeah.
Okay, James Steyn, up he goes. Second attempt. Yes,
he's over.
Beautiful.
So he's taking the lead and the edge in this competition now.
Wow, so great jumping there from James. Look at this clearance. He realised that maybe I just need a little bit more speed and a little bit more height, and boy, oh boy, did he get both. Look at that. Beautiful clearance. He's definitely got a bit of room to play with there, so game on.
That was definitely noticeable. It's the extra speed you mentioned, I think, Hayden, for James in that vault, wasn't it?
All right, men's hammer. So we've got 4 athletes in this competition. Anthony Nobilo continues to lead. He's out to 67.17, not too far off his lifetime best with that throw. On screen, we've got Caleb Sola. He's got a best from round 3 of 44.46. Left-handed thrower, keeping right to that left-hand side of the circle. And then Heath Abbott has got a best of 45.11, which he threw just in that 4th round there. So that one, we were wondering if it just stayed in the sector. It did. And he stayed inside the circle, and we got a measurement. So good to see Heath Abbott continuing to progress through this competition. And Levi Pupuali'i is sitting on a 56.55. So here's Nick Southgate. This vault is going to be key, you'd imagine, because he wants to keep ideally on tab with James Steyn and avoid any more misses on his name. So keep that reasonably clean score sheet. So just poising himself on the runway. Here he goes, attempt number 2 at 5:02. Getting his 2023 underway. Up he goes. He's over.
He's brought it down with his inside of his arms.
Levi Pupuali'i managing to keep himself inside the circle, but the hammer goes outside the sector. So that could be a crucial miss in terms of how this competition goes. And I know for Nick Southgate, he would dearly love to just get a good start to his 2023. Both Nick and James have had the injury issues over the last couple of years. James was saying every season he starts off fitter than he's ever been, and then just finds a niggle or an injury from somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's the key to many athletes' successful careers is eliminating the number of injuries you can have, or minimising them, so that you can have longevity of competition in the season.
All right, Anthony Nobilo, our current number 1 male hammer thrower. He's been PBing almost every other competition for the last 12, 18 months.
That's looking pretty good, that one. It's probably about a 67, 68, I think.
Yeah, that could be up towards his best ever lifetime throw, which is that 68.25. And like you say, it does look like it could be further out towards that 70 metre mark. So that could be some exciting news for Anthony. A little bit of frustration on the face, but let's see what it comes through as. He's been in the mid-60s all afternoon so far. Now we're in round 4. What's this going to come through as? $65.70, so continuing that consistency. And there are the standings so far.
So as you mentioned, Hayden, Anthony's 4th on the New Zealand all-time list now, behind some pretty big names that we've had in hammer throwing in New Zealand. Led that all-time list led by Angus Cooper out of the North Shore, and he was competing in the sort of late 80s, early 90s period. Then Phil Jensen, formerly out of Hamilton, but now lives in Wellington. And the late Murray Cheetah, who was a Commonwealth Games rep back probably about 1978, if I've got my memory working, but he passed away, I think, mid last year, I think was Murray. So he was out of Rotorua and Waikato Bay, plenty of athletes. So they're the names ahead of Anthony Nobilo, so he's definitely up in the top ranks, but he'll definitely want to get into the 70s sometime this season, I'm sure.
And you can see there just how challenging it is to keep in control of that hammer. This is a common occurrence we see in the hammer throw circle, where you're trying to heave the hammer as far as you can. Sometimes it heaves you in that circle. Now this is the final attempt for Nick Southgate at 5:02. He's yet to get a mark on the board today, so this is crucial to get his 2023 underway the way he wants to. Going up. Does he have the height? Yes.
He just touched it, but it's going to stay up for him.
It stays on.
He looks a bit relieved, doesn't he, with that stayed up there. He brushed it, it bounced a little, but wasn't enough for that breeze to blow it off.
Wow. So Nora Quigley in the hammer throw circle. Look at this. Chest hits it. It bounces. He looks to the sky. Stay on. Stay on. He knew how close that was, and these are the fine margins in elite athletics that can make the difference between starting your season right and starting it with just everything, all the frustration in the world. So over he goes, 5:02. Now, what are we going to extend up to? As Jeremy McCall comes down, and Aaron Booth as well, who we're going to see later today.
So according to our scoreboard update, James has passed at 5:12, which is the next progression. So whether Nick will have a crack at 5:12 or the next height after that is 5:22. So they're still going up in tens.
Yeah, looks like James is getting ready for something. So we'll keep you posted on that. As we go back to the women's hammer throw, which is heating up. We're now into round 5. So Nora Quigley's throw earlier was a 35.57, so slight improvement for her. And that was Michaela Sola, who's got a 40.64 from round 1. Here we go. James Stain on the runway. Height at 5:22. First attempt. Good attempt. That was one of those sort of happy frustrations where he's probably only got one of the 300 dials that he needs to tweak to make this event work. And he probably knew the slight adjustment that he'll need to make to get that clear. We saw that his clearance at 5:02 was so convincing. We know that he's got the height there. And there we see Michaela Sola's distance, 43.03. And Nadia Kumaric, one of our team from the New Zealand Secondary Schools team. She's got a best today of 46.09 from round 3. So
Nadia and Michaela had a great battle at New Zealand Schools, if you remember, late in the heavy rain at Inglewood that night, but Michaela came out on top. But I know that Nadia was probably a little disappointed, and they're pretty close rivals, I think, in this event.
All right, so Nick Southgate has an opportunity here to get one back on James Stain after having 2 misses at 5:02. If he goes clear, first attempt 5:22, can definitely strengthen his attempt at getting the title for today. Here's Elizabeth Hewitt spinning across that circle. Great control from Elizabeth. She's got that 48.85, and Nick just running through that one. So a few little runway issues. So still to come this evening. Oh, there we go. So almost improvement for Elizabeth, just 30 centimetres off her best this afternoon. So this evening we've got those 3,000 metre under 20 champs, but we've got just absolute class in both 800 metre fields. The women in particular. I was talking to the Peddies last night, Ange and Sam, and they were saying potentially the deepest quality, fastest 800 metre women's field ever formed in New Zealand.
Well, it's a big call because we've had some good ones, but definitely it's a very strong field for the Sylvia Potts, which has got a great history now, and obviously Angie's won that a good number of times. But and it's usually one of the best 800 fields of the season, probably outside nationals. It is a real quality field. I'm looking forward to the men's 800 things. James Preston's name's on the start list, so we'll see what he does in his first run of the season. But we're assuming he's turning up to run. So and I know from what I understand, he's looking to run a mile next week in Wanganui. So that's pinning his hopes on being a sub 4 minute miler, I think.
Absolutely.
It's
always good when an 800 metre runner can tick that box, isn't it?
It's a great box to tick, obviously, and particularly to do it at Cook's Gardens if that's where you're targeting.
It's the home of the mile in New Zealand, that's for sure. Also in that 800, we've got a guest from Australia. He's actually representing Malta these days. So Jared McAuliffe, and he's a 146 runner as well. So he just finished just behind James Preston when he set his PB. So there we go. And another one running through. So both these athletes maybe just getting a bit too happy on the runway and just overrunning it perhaps. But it'll be a second miss for James at 5:22 as we go back to Lauren Bruce. This is round number 5. She hasn't been able to improve on her best from round number 1, which was out to 65.92. She's had a couple of fouls recently, so winding up now for round number 5. There it goes. There's that power that we know Lauren can produce. Now, it's a good-looking throw, but the foot did step outside of the circle, so it won't receive a mark.
So, it's a bit more like it. It's getting out towards the late 60s for her, but as you say, Hayden just touching the edge of the circle. So
third foul for Lauren, so probably signs that she's really trying to ramp it up after that good solid start with a 65.92 and then a 64.40, but then 3 fouls. As we see, Heath Abbott has been having a solid day in the office. So the men's hammer is entering round 5 now. So Heath Abbott, he's actually sitting in 3rd place at the moment with a 45.11, but I assume he'll be throwing the junior implement. And all of the others are throwing the senior. I always put you on the spot here, Tony.
Yeah, we always got to check the ages of some of these athletes. But and so the other thing, of course, the underage athlete and the men. There's 3 options of that sort of there's the 5 kg for the under 18s and the 6 kg for the under 20s, and then the 7.26 for the seniors. But of course, they can opt to throw up, of course, and you never know whether they're trying. I think for these meets it's really good to stick with the senior implements unless someone's targeting a World Junior qualifier or something like that.
Nick Southgate, second attempt in the pole vault. Bit of frustration there. But remember, he did have 2 misses at 5:02. Now the bar's up to 5:22, and he has 2 misses in that. But don't count him out yet. James and Nick have a great friendly rivalry.
So at the moment, of course, James has got the edge on Nick just because he cleared on a second attempt at 5:02, whereas it took Nick 3 attempts to clear 5:02. So they both went through directly after that to 5:22. So a bit of strategy going on there. They opted not to have a crack at 5:12. So yeah, there's pressures on both of them now to achieve another height.
If there's anything we want to see from the senior men's pole vault this season is these two going head to head all season long. That would be a real treat if both of them can stay fit and healthy.
Yeah, and don't forget this event, like all the classics over the next few weeks, carries points for the World Athletics Continental Tour in the form of challenger meets, and then we've got 2 bronze meets later in the season at the ITM in Christchurch and the Douglas meet in Auckland.
James Steyn, last attempt, and can he soften time? He does.
So he hasn't broken the line of the bar, so he'll get another crack if he has enough time.
So the rule is there's a threshold that exists directly under the bar. If any part of his body or the pole goes through that threshold, he will be deemed as an attempt. And he's also got a shot clock going as well, so he's still got to complete his jump within the minute.
Which the official, I can't see where that official's standing, but the official will give him a 15-second warning when the 1 minute countdown is going by holding a flag out. I'm just trying to see whether that's being held out yet, but he'll have to make sure he begins.
So Levi Pupali'i from the prep throws squad. They did great work in South Auckland. Got a wonderful squad there. And here's James Steyn. Final attempt now. Going up, does he have the height? Oh, he had the height, but the chest just comes down on it. Good attempt. He'll take a little bit away from that final attempt, but he will bow out of the competition. And
so it leaves the door ajar a little bit for Nick Southgate to clear and then take the lead in the comp. You can see he just got in a bit too close to it on the way down. So it's not easy. I can see the amount of changes that Windsoccer's doing over there. It's 1 minute it's dropping down and it's almost horizontal. So just getting that right is quite hard for the vaulters as they come down the runway. And they get in too close or gets them usually on the way up, and if they take off a little early, so the optimum height needs to be over the bar for them with all of their body. So it's an intriguing finish to this competition with at least 1 vault to go.
Yeah, hopefully more, as we see Anthony Novolo, the leader of our senior men's competition in the hammer throw, with that 67.17, just a metre off his best, which is 68.25. Can he get near that here in round 5? Winding up, sending the hammer into this Hawke's Bay sky. That looked pretty good. Definitely
probably his best throw of the day. We'll look at where the flag is and the white markers. It's always hard across that sector 70 metres out to draw that sort of imaginary arc between the seats without it being marked out.
And us commentators often we're a bit optimistic, give it the benefit of the doubt, usually round it up rather than round down. but I'm hoping that's up towards that 70 metre mark. Let's have a look. His best, remember, is 68.25. Let's see what it comes through as. Well, it's been given a meeting record. It's not a personal best, but 67.50, that is pretty solid, extending out his lead. 67.50, final vault here from Nick Southgate. What has he got? The bar is at 5.22. Up he goes. He's over, but clattering it down. So bowing out of the competition in second place. He got the mark at 5.02. Puts his hand up like, that'll do. I got into the 5 metres. Second place behind James Stain isn't too bad. So both those athletes bow out of the competition at 5.02 apiece, but with one less miss on his score sheet was James Stain, so that's the result. So we've wrapped up the men's pole vault. Of course, the women's pole vault still to come, which will feature Olivia McTaggart, Imogen Eris, the bronze medalist from the Commonwealth Games, and then the bronze medalist from the Rio Olympics. Olivia McTaggart will be back, and those three will be looking to vault well up into the mid-4s, and that promises to be a very exciting competition. Of course, I said that Olivia McTaggart was the bronze medalist from Rio. I meant Eliza McCartney.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone picked that one up at home.
So Anthony did a big PB on what he's done here for his meet record. Was 63.59 set just last year, so he's set a very impressive new meet record here today. So good for him, and it looks like it'll probably be around about his 4th best ever throw. So he did set that new PB recently of 68.95. Back in sorry, I was thinking it was here midweek, but it was in Pakuranga, I should say, just a week ago. So he's in good form, and looking forward to seeing him throw throughout the summer. So 68.95 is his current PB, and he's thrown 67.50, I think that was, from memory. So it's come up on the board officially yet, but we'll see what he can do in the last round. Still got a chance to go further.
So, yeah, because I was saying his personal best was 68.25, but I'm not keeping up with the program because he's just in the space of a couple of weeks, he's added another 70 centimetres to that, so 68.95. So he's edging closer to that 70 metre mark, which is a bit of a magic mark for both the women's and the men's hammer throwers. And we are into round number 6, the final round now of the women's hammer throw.
And for Anthony, he's still a young thrower at 23. He's got in the hammer. He's got, he can have another good 10 years if he wants to keep cracking at it. So the progression he's made over the last few years has been quite amazing, really. So it bodes well for him. I'm sure that he's progressing like he wants to, and he'll be chasing points and maybe trying to edge up the world rankings, so that possibly a chance for him in the next year or two to get on the big stage.
Well, I think the great thing for Anthony Nobilo and Anthony Barnes is they're seeing what the girls have done, and just how they've just gone about their work and just edged up those rankings, and Julia Ratcliffe just retiring the other week, finishing her career with 3 Commonwealth medals. Just a wonderful, impressive
it's a great resume,
career,
isn't it? and we mustn't forget she placed well at the Olympics at Tokyo as well. So not in the medal hunt, but she had a good performance there. So, and of course we haven't heard of the third of our sort of top three that went to the Commonwealth Games. Remember, it's not very often we have three throwers in one event at the Commonwealth Games. That we also had Nicole Bradley compete in the Commonwealth Games with Julia and Lauren, and we haven't heard whether she's going to come out and compete this season or not. But we know where Julia stands now anyway.
Yeah, Nicole, if you're watching, don't hang up your hammer quite yet. We need you. Lauren needs someone to keep her honest. But yeah, we've just had such great competition between Julia Ratcliffe and Lauren Bruce over the last few years. They've provided a lot of entertainment, so we will definitely miss Julia. But she's definitely got a career to be proud of. So here she is, Lexi Maples, 56.82 was her best that she, 57.18 was her best that she threw in round two. Here she goes. She's really developing that great control across the circle as she's defining herself now as a thrower. She's building that strength, really refining that technique. And here she is, competition leader, which she has achieved on her first throw, which was 65.92. Then she backed that up with a 64.40, but then she's had a handful of fouls that have just, clipping the net a couple of times, just the foot coming outside of the circle. So can she pull it together in this final attempt? Lauren Bruce, competition leader, national record holder, winding up for the final time at the Potts Classic 2023. Gets the hammer out cleanly, stays inside the circle.
It's looking like a pretty good mark.
Yeah, it's definitely over the 60-metre mark. And so all of her throws that have counted have been around that sort of mid-60s. So can she extend on that 65.92? That's the big question. So for those youngsters wanting to learn some hammer throw technique, it's great to see these slow motion shots of just the artistry of the hammer throw. It really is a dance across the circle. You've got 4 kg on the end of a chain that wants to throw you sideways, and just maintaining that composure and balance while accelerating. It truly is. It's not just a strength sport. It really is an art to develop that coordination. And there we go, 66.54. That will be an extension of her lead. She adds another 60 odd centimetres to her best from round one and finishes the competition on a good strong note. And that's promising signs for Lauren, kicking off her year well, and we'll be seeing a lot more of her this summer and see if she can retain her national title. Over to the men in the hammer throw. So with Heath Abbott on screen, we've got just 3 more throws to come, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break. And if you want to set your alarms on your phone, tune in back again at 4:25. We'll be kicking off with a whole heap of action with the women's long jump will kick off first, and then we've got the 200 metres, dive into the high hurdles, and then we've got the heats, the prelims of the 100 metres, and both men and women, those 100 fields look absolutely stacked. We don't have Zoe Hobbs or Eddie Osei and Ketia, unfortunately, but the quality is very deep behind them. We've got some big names lining up in the prelims for those hundreds, and then the hundreds will, of course, be raced again just after 7, and then we've got the 400 metres around 6:30. We've got the first of those 800s just before 7, and then the first of those 3,000 metre under 20 champs right at 7. And then, like we said before, we've got some amazing fields in the 800s that close out the night just before our men's under 23,000 metre champs. So that's on the track still to come. In the field, we've got men's and women's shot, men's and women's long jump. We've got the women's pole vault still to come, men's discus, women's discus, and so much more to come. So be sure to join us at 4:25. But we've got 2 remaining throws with Levi Pupuali'i still to go. Heath Abbott has done his day with a 45.11, his best from round 4. Caleb Sola with a best of 44.46. So those two very close to each other. Levi Pupuali'i, National Secondary Schools champion. Here he is, final time across the circle, heaving it out. Looked like a good throw. Looks like it might be close to 60. So Levi Pupuali'i represents Papakura Athletics, 17 years of age. And we are unsure of the implement that he's using. His best with the 5 kg is 63.13, but on Wednesday he threw the 6 kg up to 53.98. So we assume that he's probably using the 6. That looked pretty close to 60 metres. So that could well be a personal best for Levi. Well, 55.53, my eyes were deceiving me a little bit, but pretty close to where his best today, which is that 56.55. So we've got one more throw to come from Anthony Nobilo, who's been consistent and improving throughout the meet. In fact, all of his throws you could separate by about 2 metres. All of his 5 throws have been within 2 metres out there. And here he is, Anthony Nobilo. He now owns the meet record. Can he extend that? Maybe get a personal best to finish the day. Releases, out it goes. It's huge. Another massive heave from Anthony Nobilo.
So it'll be out there, very much similar to his other one. Maybe in a slight improvement. Just having a bit of a look down at where the officials are, trying to judge it himself from about 67 metres away.
So a reminder, his best today is 67.50. His personal best 68.95, which he set just a week ago. He's been on an absolute tear in terms of personal best lately. 67.11, that's another solid backup. So a wonderful, consistent run of throws there from Anthony Nobilo, who's our current leader in the New Zealand men's hammer rankings. So there we go. That's our pre-meet done and dusted. We're going to be back at 4:25. So set the alarm clocks and join us again in half an hour for some of the top domestic athletics you'll see in New Zealand here at the 2023 Potts Track and Field Classic. Catch you soon.